Manager expels Shaquille O'Neal from car dealership without knowing he is the new owner. The summer sun beat down mercilessly on the luxury car dealership's parking lot as Shaquille O'Neal sat in his modest vehicle, observing the gleaming establishment he had just acquired. The former NBA star had traded his usual business attire for a simple ensemble, a plain t-shirt, worn jeans, and comfortable sneakers. His choice of clothing was deliberate, part of a carefully planned experiment to understand the true nature of customer service in his newest business venture. The dealership's facade was impressive, a testament to luxury and exclusivity. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased millions of dollars worth of pristine vehicles under perfect lighting. The building itself seemed to emanate an aura of success and sophistication, qualities that Shaquille had always believed should be accessible to anyone who worked hard enough to achieve them. As he stepped out of his car, purposefully parked in the back of the lot, Shaquille took a moment to absorb the atmosphere. The air conditioning hit him as soon as he entered, a pleasant respite from the heat outside. The interior was immaculate. Polished floors reflected the strategic lighting that made every vehicle gleam like a precious jewel. The subtle scent of leather permeated the air, mixing with the distinct new car smell that luxury dealerships seemed to perfect. Moving through the showroom, Shaquille noticed the immediate reaction his presence caused. Staff members exchanged furtive glances, their whispered comments barely concealed. His height made him impossible to ignore, but his deliberately casual attire clearly didn't match their expectations of a serious customer. He could read their body language, the slight turning away, the casual dismissals, the unspoken judgments. Near the entrance, a small group of employees were engaged in casual conversation, their designer suits and polished appearances creating a stark contrast to his own deliberately understated look. As he approached, a female staff member broke away from the group, her expression a mixture of professional detachment and barely concealed disdain. Her approach was calculated, her posture rigid with authority. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone carrying an edge that suggested she'd already decided he couldn't afford anything in the showroom. Before Shaquille could respond, she continued, "You should know that our vehicles require substantial financial pre-approval. The pricing starts in the six-figure range." Her words carried a clear suggestion that he might be more comfortable elsewhere. Shaquille maintained his composure, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I'm just looking around," he replied calmly. "Perhaps if you knew exactly what I was interested in, you could better assist me?" His question was delivered with perfect politeness, but there was a subtle challenge in his words that made the employee shift uncomfortably. The tension in the air was palpable as other staff members watched the interaction from a safe distance. The woman's expression tightened, clearly unused to having her assumptions questioned. She opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by another employee hurrying toward them with news that the director had arrived. This announcement created a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The staff member's phone rang, and Shaquille calmly reached for his own device, making a direct call to the director. His confident handling of the situation caused visible confusion among the onlooking staff. The arrival of the director, an elegantly dressed man carrying himself with professional authority, transformed the scene entirely. He approached Shaquille with genuine warmth and respect, leaving the female employee visibly stunned. The director's greeting was cordial and familiar, a clear indication that he knew exactly who Shaquille was. The other staff members watched, in growing disbelief as the reality of the situation became clear. Their new owner had been standing before them, subjected to their prejudices and assumptions. The female employee's face drained of color as she realized the magnitude of her mistake, her previous confidence crumbling under the weight of this revelation. But this was just the beginning. Shaquille had not orchestrated this moment merely for dramatic effect. As he stood there, surrounded by luxury vehicles and shocked employees, he was already formulating plans for the changes that needed to be implemented. The dealership's culture of exclusivity and judgment was about to undergo a dramatic transformation, and he would be the catalyst for that change. The whispers among the staff had ceased entirely now, replaced by a heavy silence laden with anticipation and anxiety. Shaquille's presence, once dismissed, now commanded the room completely. His experiment had revealed exactly what he needed to know about the dealerships. Culture, and the real work was about to begin. The conference room of the luxury car dealership had never felt so small as it did when Shaquille O'Neal called for an emergency staff meeting. The spacious room, typically used for high-end client presentations and sales strategy sessions, now held a different kind of tension. Every employee, from senior sales staff to support personnel, sat in uncomfortable silence as their new owner stood at the head of the table. Shaquille's imposing presence was amplified by his calm demeanor. He had changed from his casual attire into a well-fitted business suit, but the transformation went beyond mere clothing. His entire bearing spoke of authority tempered with purpose. The same employees who had dismissed him earlier now couldn't take their eyes off him, their expressions a mixture of embarrassment and apprehension. "What happened today," he began, his voice measured and clear, "was more than a simple misunderstanding. It was a symptom of a deeper problem that we need to address." His gaze swept across the room, making brief but meaningful eye contact with each person present. "This dealership sells luxury vehicles, but the true luxury should be in how we treat every single person who walks through those doors." The female employee who had confronted him earlier sat rigid in her chair, her face a mask of professional composure barely hiding her distress. Shaquille noticed her discomfort, but continued addressing the entire group. "I chose to experience this dealership as an average customer would. What I discovered was a culture of judgment and prejudice that has no place in any business, let alone one that I own." A murmur rippled through the room as some employees shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others looked down at their hands, avoiding eye contact. The reality of their behavior, now exposed, weighed heavily in the air-conditioned space. "But this moment," Shaquille continued, his tone softening slightly, "is not about punishment. It's about transformation." He moved around the table as he spoke, his presence both commanding and reassuring. "From this day forward, we're going to implement changes that will reshape how this dealership operates." He outlined his vision for the future: mandatory training programs focused on inclusion and bias awareness, new customer service protocols that emphasized respect and dignity for all clients, and a complete overhaul of the sales approach that had previously relied heavily on superficial judgments. The tension in the room began to shift as Shaquille shared his own experiences with prejudice and discrimination despite his success and fame. His words carried the weight of personal understanding, making it impossible for the employees to dismiss his message as mere corporate policy. Some staff members began to engage timidly at first, then with increasing openness. A junior salesman raised his hand and admitted to making similar assumptions about customers based on their appearance. His honesty sparked a broader discussion, with others sharing their own realizations about unconscious biases. The female employee who had been at the center of the day's events finally spoke up, her voice quiet but steady. "I want to apologize," she said, looking directly at Shaquille. "My behavior was inexcusable. I let prejudices and assumptions guide my actions, and in doing so I failed not only you but every customer I've treated similarly." Shaquille acknowledged her apology with a nod, recognizing the courage it took to admit her mistakes publicly. "Acknowledgement is the first step toward change," he responded, "but it can't stop there. We need to actively work to create an environment where everyone feels valued and respected." As the meeting progressed, Shaquille introduced specific initiatives he planned to implement. There would be regular training sessions, anonymous customer feedback systems, and a new mentorship program pairing experienced staff with new hires to ensure the cultural changes took root. The atmosphere in the room had transformed by the time the meeting drew to a close. Where there had been tension and defensive postures, there was now a sense of purpose and possibility. Employees who had barely interacted before were now engaged in meaningful discussions about how to implement the changes Shaquille had outlined. Before dismissing the group, Shaquille made one final statement that resonated throughout the room. "Success in this business isn't just about selling cars. It's about building relationships, fostering trust, and treating every person with the dignity they deserve. That's the standard of excellence I expect from everyone in this room." As the employees filed out of the conference room, there was a palpable sense that something significant had shifted, Conversations continued in small groups with staff, members discussing the changes ahead and sharing their own thoughts on how to create a more inclusive environment. The weeks following Shaquille O'Neal's revelation brought significant changes to the luxury car dealership. The once pristine showroom maintained its gleaming appearance, but there was a noticeable shift in the atmosphere. The air of exclusivity had been replaced by something more welcoming, though the transition wasn't without its challenges. The first major change came in the form of comprehensive training sessions. Shaquille had brought in expert consultants, specializing in inclusive customer service and unconscious bias awareness. The initial resistance was subtle but present. Rolled eyes during presentations, whispered comments during breaks, and a few veteran salespeople who insisted that their experience was worth more than any training. However, Shaquille's continued presence and hands-on approach began to wear down that resistance. He made it a point to attend every training session, not as an observer, but as an active participant. His willingness to engage, share personal experiences, and acknowledge his own learning journey set a powerful example for the staff. The female employee who had confronted him on that first day, Sarah Martinez, proved to be an unexpected catalyst for change. After her public apology, she threw herself into the new initiatives with remarkable dedication. "I want to turn my mistake into something positive," she explained during a team meeting. "Every person who walks through those doors deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of how they look or what they're wearing." One particular incident marked a turning point in the dealership's transformation. A young software developer, dressed in casual clothes and carrying a backpack, entered the showroom one afternoon. In the past, he might have been overlooked or dismissed. Instead, Sarah approached him with genuine warmth and interest. The developer, it turned out, was looking to purchase 3 high-end vehicles, one for himself and 2 for his startup's executives. As Sarah guided him through the options, employees watched with growing appreciation for the new approach. The sale wasn't just significant in terms of numbers, it represented a visible validation of Shaquille's vision. The training sessions began to evolve beyond formal presentations into open discussions where staff members shared their experiences and insights. During one particularly memorable session, a veteran salesperson named James Thompson made a candid admission. "I've been in this business for 20 years, he said, his voice carrying across the quiet room, "and I realized I've probably lost millions in sales because I judged books by their covers. Last week I helped a woman in gardening clothes who turned out to be a real estate mogul. Under the old way of doing things, I might have ignored her." Shaquille used these moments to reinforce the broader message. The changes weren't just about selling more cars. They were about fundamental human dignity and respect. He shared stories from his own life, times when people had underestimated him or made assumptions based on appearances, even after his success in basketball and business. The physical space of the dealership began to reflect the internal changes. The break room, once segregated by unofficial but clear social boundaries, became a place where sales staff and support personnel mingled freely. Conversations shifted from superficial shop talk to genuine exchanges about customers, experiences, and ideas for improvement. Not every change was smooth or immediate. Some longtime employees, deeply set in their ways, struggled to adapt. A few chose to leave, unable or unwilling to embrace the new culture. But their departures made room for new hires, who brought fresh energy and perspectives to the team. The most significant transformation was in the daily interactions with customers. The staff developed a new approach that focused on listening and understanding rather than making quick judgments. They began keeping detailed notes, not just about sales figures, but about customer experiences and feedback. One afternoon, Shaquille overheard a conversation between 2 salespeople that confirmed the cultural shift was taking root. They were discussing a customer who had left without making a purchase, but instead of dismissing it as a waste of time, they were analyzing how they could have better understood and met the person's needs. The dealership's reputation in the EE community began to evolve as well. Word spread about the inclusive atmosphere and respectful treatment. Customer reviews mentioned the unexpected warmth and lack of pressure tactics. Several clients specifically noted how refreshing it was to be treated with dignity, regardless of their appearance or initial budget. As the third week of changes drew to a close, Shaquille called an informal gathering in the showroom after hours. Looking around at the assembled staff, he saw something that hadn't been there before, a genuine sense of pride that went beyond sales figures and commission checks. "We're not just changing a dealership," he told them, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had become familiar to them all. "We're changing lives one interaction at a time. Every person who walks through those doors has a story, dreams, and dignity. Our job is to honor that." The evening sun cast long shadows through the showroom windows, making the cars gleam like artwork. But now they weren't just symbols of status and wealth. They were opportunities for genuine human connection and respect. 1 month into the transformation of the luxury car dealership, the changes initiated by Shaquille O'Neal had begun to create ripples far beyond the showroom floor. The story of his undercover visit and subsequent reforms had spread through the automotive industry, attracting attention from unexpected quarters. Local business leaders began reaching out, curious about the dealership's new approach to customer service. Several requested tours to observe the changes firsthand. Shaquille welcomed these visits, using them as opportunities to demonstrate how treating every customer with respect could transform a business. Sarah Martinez, once the embodiment of the old culture, had emerged as one of the strongest advocates for the new approach. She now led orientation sessions for new employees, sharing her personal journey from bias to awareness. "It's not just about selling cars," she would tell them. "It's about seeing the humanity in every person who walks through our doors." The dealership's sales figures told an interesting story. While some had worried that abandoning the exclusive atmosphere would hurt their luxury brand, the opposite proved true. Sales had increased by 30%, with a notably higher customer satisfaction rate. More importantly, the sales were more diverse, reaching clients from all walks of life who had previously felt intimidated by the luxury car market. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the showroom windows, a group of business students arrived for a case study on organizational change. They found Shaquille working alongside the sales team, his imposing presence now a source of inspiration rather than intimidation. The biggest challenge, he explained to the students, wasn't changing policies or procedures. It was changing hearts and minds. We had to help people understand that true luxury isn't about exclusivity. It's about excellence in how we treat every human being. The staff had developed new traditions that reinforced their transformed culture. Every Friday morning began with a team meeting where they shared success stories and learning experiences. These sessions became a source of pride and motivation, with employees celebrating not just sales numbers, but moments of genuine human connection. During one such meeting, a junior salesperson named Michael Chen shared a story that captured the essence of their new approach. He had spent 3 hours with an elderly couple who ultimately couldn't afford any of the vehicles. Instead of viewing it as wasted time, he had helped them identify other options within their budget at different dealerships. "A month ago, I might have rushed them out the door," Michael admitted. "But now I understand that every interaction is an opportunity to make a positive impact." Last week, their grandson came in and bought our top-of-the-line model, specifically because of how we treated his grandparents. The physical space of the dealership continued to evolve. The once intimidating showroom now featured comfortable seating areas where customers could relax and discuss their options without pressure. The walls displayed not just automotive awards but also community recognition and thank you letters from satisfied customers. The change was particularly evident in the service department, which had previously been treated as separate from the sales floor. Now, service technicians were included in customer discussions, sharing their expertise and building trust. This integrated approach led to stronger relationships with clients and increased service retention rates. One afternoon, a young woman in paint-stained overalls walked into the showroom. In the past, she might have faced subtle dismissal or outright prejudice. Instead, she received the same warm welcome as any other customer. She turned out to be a successful artist looking to invest in her dream car, and her experience was so positive that she later commissioned a piece for the dealership's lobby, a striking representation of transformation and inclusion. Shaquille's influence extended beyond the daily operations. He established a mentorship program connecting experienced staff with newcomers to the industry, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. The program quickly gained recognition as a model for creating pathways into luxury automotive sales for diverse candidates. The dealership's break room wall now featured a simple but powerful quote, "Every person carries their dreams through these doors." It served as a daily reminder of their mission to make luxury automotive experiences accessible to all who aspired to them. As the fourth week drew to a close, Shaquille gathered the team for another meeting. The atmosphere was noticeably different from that first tense gathering. Where there had been anxiety and resistance, there was now confidence and purpose. "What we've built here goes beyond selling cars," he told them. "We've created a template for how businesses can combine excellence with inclusivity. Each of you has been part of this change, and each of you carries the responsibility to maintain and grow it." Looking around the room, Shaquille saw not just employees but partners in a vision of transformation. The luxury cars still gleamed under the showroom lights, but now they were more than status symbols. They were vehicles for changing perceptions, breaking down barriers and building bridges between people from all walks of life. 3 months after Shaquille O'Neal's transformative experiment began, the luxury car dealership had become a case study in organizational change. The morning sun streamed through the showroom windows, highlighting not just the gleaming vehicles, but the vibrant energy of a transformed workplace. The day began with a special gathering of the entire staff. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as Shaquille prepared to share the results of their journey. The numbers were impressive. Sales had continued to climb, customer satisfaction scores were at record highs, and employee retention had improved significantly. But the real success story lay in the human elements that no spreadsheet could capture. Sarah Martinez, standing confidently before her colleagues, presented a new training program she had developed. "Our journey began with a moment of prejudice," she acknowledged, her voice steady and proud. "Now we're teaching other dealerships how to create inclusive environments where every customer feels valued." The transformation had rippled through the automotive industry. Other dealerships had begun sending their staff for training, eager to replicate the success story that had unfolded under Shaquille's leadership. The once exclusive showroom had become a learning center for a new approach to luxury sales. A particularly moving moment came when a familiar face appeared at the dealership. The elderly couple Michael Chen had helped months earlier. They weren't there to buy a car this time. Instead, they had come to share how their experience had impacted their entire family. "We felt seen and respected here," the husband explained to the assembled staff. "That meant more to us than any sale. Our grandson not only bought his car here, but he's now enrolled in your training program. You didn't just sell vehicles, you changed lives." The dealership's physical space had evolved to reflect its new identity. The walls now featured a gallery of photographs showcasing diverse customers with their dream cars, each image telling a story of dreams fulfilled and barriers broken. The once rigid atmosphere had been replaced by an environment that balanced luxury with accessibility. Shaquille watched with quiet satisfaction as his team interacted with customers throughout the day. The changes were now deeply ingrained, natural rather than forced. Sales associates engaged genuinely with every visitor, regardless of appearance or perceived status. The service department operated as an integral part of the customer experience, with technicians and sales staff working seamlessly together. During the afternoon, a group of industry executives visited to observe the dealership's operations. They witnessed a scene that would have been unthinkable 3 months earlier. A diverse group of customers exploring luxury vehicles in an atmosphere free from judgment or pressure, guided by staff members who genuinely cared about matching each person with the right vehicle. The break room, once divided by invisible barriers, had become a hub of collaboration and learning. Veterans and newcomers shared experiences and insights, while the walls displayed thank you notes from customers whose lives had been touched by their new approach. As the day drew to a close, Shaquille gathered everyone for a final meeting. The tension that had filled their first gathering was long gone, replaced by a sense of shared purpose and pride. He looked around the room at faces that now reflected confidence, compassion, and genuine commitment to their transformed culture. "When I walked through those doors 3 months ago," he began, "I saw a business that sold luxury cars. Today, I see a community that understands true luxury isn't about exclusivity. It's about dignity, respect, and making dreams accessible to all who reach for them." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Each of you has been part of this transformation. You've proven that success doesn't require compromising our humanity. In fact, embracing our shared humanity is the key to real success." The sunlight was fading, casting long shadows through the showroom. But the energy in the room remained bright. Sarah stepped forward with an announcement that brought their journey full circle. She had been promoted to lead a new division focused on cultural transformation across multiple dealerships. "Our story doesn't end here," Shaquille concluded. "It's just the beginning. Every person who walks through these doors carries hopes and dreams. Our privilege is not just to sell cars, but to be part of their journey, to treat them with the respect and dignity they deserve." As the team dispersed, for the evening, the transformed dealership stood as a testament to what was possible when prejudice was replaced with understanding, when exclusivity gave way to inclusivity, and when profit was measured not just in dollars, but in human dignity. The luxury cars still gleamed under the showroom lights, but they were no longer barriers separating people. They had become bridges connecting dreams to reality. Shaquille's experiment had done more than change a business. It had created a model for how excellence and equality could coexist and thrive. Outside, as the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in brilliant colors, a new customer approached the dealership. They paused at the entrance, perhaps expecting the intimidating atmosphere typical of luxury showrooms. Instead, they found warm smiles and genuine welcome, proof that the greatest luxury of all was the simple dignity of being truly seen and respected.